Hello friends, I am Dr. Kappagam Chinnammal from Chikana Government Arts College, Tirupur in Tamil Nadu. Today we are going to deal with natural dyes with special reference to its history, source, classification and methods of dye extraction. Coloring materials have been used by man for many thousands of years. Dyes are substances that add color to textiles, and it may be natural or synthetic. The concept of eco-friendly textile is gaining momentum in the present or era of ecological concern. With increasing awareness of the environmental preservation, control of pollution and health hazards associated with synthesis, processing and use of some synthetic dyes, there is a worldwide interest in dyeing textiles with colorants extracted from renewable natural resources. What are natural dyes? Natural dyes comprise those colorants that are obtained from animal, vegetable or mineral resources without or with mild chemical processing and generally considered as safe and eco-friendly. After completion of this module, you would get familiar with the history of natural dyes, be acquainted with the sources of natural dyes, get an insight into the classification of natural dyes, learn the various methods of dye extraction. First, let's know about the history of natural dyes. Ability of natural colors to dye textiles is also known from ancient times. Description about natural dyes is found in Atharva Veda. The wall paintings of Ajanta, Ellora and Sittanavasil are evidences of use of natural dyes since prehistoric times. India was forerunner in the art of natural dyeing. In the epics, frequent references are made about a yellow garment used by gods called Pitambar. Some of the records of the court historians are written and illustrated with natural dyes. The palace deteriorations and the ceilings of the temples of Halabid and Bellur in Karnataka widely testify the mastery of the Indian craftsmen in the use of natural dyes. The colored, exquisite silk and muslin fabrics of India have been found belonging to the period of 16th and 17th centuries. Thus, use of natural dyes is an old age history since ancient periods. The fragment of coarse madder dyed cotton fabric in a plain weave found during the excavation of the ancient Harappan sites indicates that even the people of Mohenjo-daro in 3000 BC used natural dyes. Several historical examples found during excavation show that natural dyes are used since ancient time. The paintings on the walls in Padmanabhapuram Palace is an evidence that vegetable colors were used in the 18th and 19th centuries. The use of natural colorants and dyeing of textiles in different colors was well known in China, Egypt and India in 3000 BC. The dyeing of textiles had also been practiced in Egypt, where the known textiles, linen mummy wrapping dating from 2000 BC have been found dyed with either indigo or wood. The safflower was used by the Egyptians to obtain yellow and its shades. In 715 BC, dyeing of woolen material with natural colorants was established as a craft in Rome. Among the various natural colorants, cochineal is a traditional red dye of prehistoric Mexico and still prevalent in southern Mexico. It was found that dyeing had been practiced during the Indus Valley civilization at Mohenjo-daro and Harappa during 3500 BC. In Rajasthan, still traditional natural color dyeing is being followed by using some vegetable and mineral colorants. Kalamkari is a well-known painting which is done with vegetable colors and is practiced in many parts of India. Before 1856, natural materials derived from insects, plants, shellfish and minerals were the only source of dyestuffs. These sources included the root of the herb madder for red dye and the indigo plant for blue dye. In the early days of the Roman Empire, garments colored with Tyrian purple, a dye which was derived from shellfish of the Mediterranean Sea, were worn by the imperial family and the nobility. As late as the 4th century AD, Cloth colored with Tyrian purple was a symbol of royalty. The art of dyeing was stimulated in the 13th century by the discovery of achil, a purple dye made from a species of lichen. Northern Italy, where the discovery was made, became the center of dyeing in Europe. In the 16th century, explorers brought back from America such dye stuff as cochineal and logwood. Other important sources of natural dyes included quercitron, weld, fuse stick, brazelwood, cephalour and indigo plants. Kermes is identified in the Bible book of Exodus, where references are made to scarlet colored linen. Natural dyes have been used since ancient times for coloring and printing fabrics. Until the middle of the last century, most of the dyes were derived from plants or animal sources by long and elaborate process. Among these, indigo, Tyrian purple, alizarin, cochineal and logwood dyes deserve special mention. Until about 100 years ago, people in many parts of India were still using various forms of natural dyeing. In 1856, the first synthetic dye, mauve, was derived from coal tar by Henry Perkin. Since then, a great number of synthetic dyes have been developed and it started to overrule the conventional natural dyeing, and the use of natural dyes has almost ceased. The main factors which led to the consumption of synthetic dyes were the availability of wide spectrum of colors and ease of application. Nobody was aware of the adverse effect of synthetic dyes on human health and ecology until 1990s. Now, we are aware about the threats raised by synthetic dyes, and many countries have started banning carcinogenic dyes and implementing eco-certification. Natural dyes offer an important alternative in these regard, as these are safer in use with disposability, are biodegradable and have a higher compatibility with the environment. Recently, a revival of interest in the use of natural colorants in textile coloration has been growing. Where do we get these natural dyes from? The main sources of natural dyes are plants, animals, minerals and microbes. The majority of natural dyes are obtained from plants and they dominate the source of natural dyes. Various parts of the plant like the leaves, the skin of roots, bark, roots, wood, seed or flowers are used to make dyes. There is a whole variety of plants which can be used to make plant dyes. They are extracted mainly by aqueous extraction, and wood parts yield 10 to 20% and flower yields minimum 0.3 to 0.6%. Lichens are very small plants which grow on rocks. There are many colors of lichens and they are very good for making dyes. Cudbear, for example, comes from the lichen Lecanora tartaria and produces lilac color dye. Some of the sources of plant dyes are annata, indica, henna, red sandalwood, babul and madder. The table shows the common name, botanical name, part of the plant used and the color obtained. Animal dyes are colorants obtained from animal sources like insect, shellfish and shells. Cochineal is a dye produced from insects living on cactus plant. A red powder is obtained when the female insect is dried in the sun and ground. Another red dye obtained from the dried bodies of the female insects, Kermes vermilio or lichens, is Kermes. They yield only 0.1 to 2% of dye. A small insect, Lucifera laca, a pest on plants, secretes a sticky fluid which envelops their bodies. The secretion forms a hard encrustation over the twigs. Lac dye is obtained by boiling this tree incrustation. They contain only 1 to 2% dye. Being an acid dye, it is used to directly dye protein fibers such as wool and silk. It also produces very dark shades on nylon. The hues can be modified by postmortem treatment with metal salts. The dye has very good light and wash fastness. Tyrian purple is produced from the secretions of the sea mollusk murex. The dye produced is deep violet in color. It's very color fast and expensive. Natural colorants obtained from sand, clay and ores are categorized as mineral dye. Some of the important mineral colorants are chrome yellow, iron buff, narkin yellow, prussian blue and manganese brown. Ochre is a dye obtained from an impure earthy ore varying from light yellow to brown or red. Natural dyes can also be obtained from microbes. Some bacteria produce colored substances, usually pigments. Microbes as a dye source offer an advantage as these can be easily grown on cheap substrates under controlled conditions. Next, let's see how natural dyes are classified. Natural dyes can be classified into various ways based on its source, chemical composition, application method and the color produced. As seen earlier, based on the source, natural dyes are classified into three categories, that is plant or vegetable source, animal and mineral. Vegetable dye. Colorants obtained from different parts of the plant are called vegetable dyes. The common dyes obtained from different vegetable origins are given below. From the table, you can see madder, turmeric, beetroot are examples of dyes obtained from roots. Red sandalwood, sapanwood are examples of dyes from bark, and henna, lemongrass, indigo are examples of dyes from leaves. Marigold, dahlia petals are also used as source of dyes. Pomegranate rind, myrobalan are also sources of natural color. Colorants obtained from animal sources like insect and shellfish are grouped under animal dyes. Example, Tyrian purple, lac, cochineal and kermes. Natural colorants obtained from sand, clay and ores are categorized as mineral dye. Based on the chemical constituent of the dye responsible for the color, natural dyes are categorized as follows. Indigo, Tyrian purple and wood are examples of indigoid dyes. This is a most significant group of natural dyes and is the source of blue color. Madder, lac, cochineal fall under anthraquinone category. Most red dyes from both plants and animals fall under this class. These dyes possess good fastness to light. When mordanted with metals, the metal complex dyes have good wash fastness. Henna and walnut shells come under alpha-naphthaquinone. These dyes produce orange colors and are usually dispersed dyes. Onion and yellow dahlias are examples of flavons. These are colorless organic compounds. Most of the yellow natural dyes have a hydroxyl or methoxy substituted flavon structure. It's obtained from dust on flowers, seeds, buds of flowers. Logwood, brazilwood and sapanwood fall under dihydropyrans. These are closely related to flavons in chemical structure. They are substituted dihydropyrons like hematin and its leucoform hematoxylin. These are important natural dyes for dark shades on silk, wool and cotton. Hibiscus rosa is an example for anthocyanidins. It is a direct orange dye for wool and cotton and it dyes silk in blue shade. Annatto and saffron come under carotenoids. The name keratin is termed from the orange pigment in carrots. The color is due to the presence of long conjugated double bonds. Based on the method of dyeing and the material to which it is applied, natural dyes can be categorized into direct, acid, basic, vat, disperse and modern dyes. Direct dyes are those dyes that have amazing attraction for the cellulosic fibers. They are dyed under boiling temperature. Example, turmeric, harda, pomegranate rind. Acid dyes. These dyes are applied from an acidic medium. The carboxylic or sulfonic group present in the dye form an electrovalent bond with the amino group present in wool and silk. Back tanning and after treatment with tannic acid improves the fastness of these type of dyes. Example, saffron. Basic or cationic dyes are applied from neutral or slightly acidic pH. These dyes ionization give colored cations and form an electrovalent bond with the carboxyl group of wool and silk. The light fastness of these dyes are very poor. VAT dyes are water insoluble dyes. They are reduced with sodium hydrosulfide and transformed to water soluble form, solubilized with alkali and applied to the fibers. The original color is formed only on oxidation, followed by treatment with a hot soap solution, example indigo. Dispersed dyes are applied under neutral or slightly acidic pH on synthetic fibers. They can also be applied to silk and wool. Its solubility is very low. These dyes can be postmortenced with chromium, copper and tin salts, example lavsan and many other flavons and anthraquinone dyes. The above 5 groups of dyes we dealt with are substantive dyes. That is, they have an attraction to the substrate and needs no mordant. Mordant dyes, the next class, are adjective dyes. They have no affinity for the fiber. Example, madder, fustic, Persian, berries, kermes, cochineal, etc. They are applied in the presence of metal salts. These metal salts form a complex with the dye and work as fixing agents and are called mordants. The main color of natural dyes depends on the chromophoric group of the colorants. They form different colors with different mordants. Some plants may have more than one color depending upon which part of the plant one uses. The hue, shade of the color of a plant produces will vary according to the time of the year it is picked, how it is grown, the soil type, etc. Classification based on the important colors are red, yellow, blue, black, brown, peach, green, purple, etc. The table shows the sources that produce these colors. Most red dyes are hidden in roots or barks of plants or camouflaged in the bodies of dull grey insects. They are based on anthraquinone and its derivatives and are stable to light and washing. The prominent vegetable sources that give red color are madder, mangista, brazelwood, sappanwood. Cochineal, lac and kermes are animal sources that give red color. Lac is the oldest and cochineal is the brightest of all natural red dyes. Yellow is the liveliest and perhaps the most abundant of all hues in nature. The plants that yield yellow colors are plenty. Parijada, marigold, teak and pomegranate give yellow color. About 90% of the yellow dyes are flavonoids. Normally, the shades produced are pale and fade quickly. Turmeric produces dull, deep shade but is susceptible to light. Wash fastness rating of natural yellow dyes varies from fair to excellent. Some of the important yellow dyes are obtained from beriberi, tesu flowers and kamala. Other sources of yellow dyes are black oak, turmeric, veld, Himalayan rhubarb. The only viable choice among the blue natural dyes is indigo. The natural indigo is obtained by fermenting the leaves of various species of Indigofera. Oxidation is a vital step to get the color. Another example of blue color is wood. These dyes have excellent fastness to light and washing. Black color. Black shades are obtained from tannin-rich plants and are substantive towards cellulosic and protein fiber and impart good overall fastness properties. Examples logwood, harda and custard apple. Brown color can be obtained from kutch, sumac and eucalyptus. Green color is hard to get directly from natural sources. It's obtained by mixing indigo and yellow. However, canna and lily give nice fluorescent green. Orange or peach color can be obtained from dahlia and anata using different mordants. So, we have seen about the different types of natural colors. Now, let us see how the dyes can be extracted, the different methods of dye extraction. Natural sources can be taken from various sources. The collected source material is shadow dried in air or sun dried within a temperature range of 37 to 40 degrees centigrade to reduce the moisture content. After drying, it is ground to break down the material into very small units or preferably powder form. Usually, natural colorants are soluble in water, but in the raw form, the color component present in these sources needs to be extracted so that it can be applied on textiles. Extraction refers to separating the desired color component by physical or chemical means with the aid of a solvent. Based on the solubility of natural colorants, different extracting methods are being adopted, and finally it is filtered, evaporated and dried. The various extraction methods are aqueous extraction, acid or alkali assisted extraction, solvent extraction, supercritical fluid extraction commonly called SFE, ultrasonic and microwave assisted extraction process, and enzyme assisted extraction. Aqueous extraction is using water for the extraction. Natural dyes are available in crude, crushed, water extracted, powder and paste form. In the case of crude form, the vegetable matters are dried, crushed and soaked in water and subjected to heating or boiling for about 1 to 2 hours, depending upon the material in presence of some electrolytes. Delicate parts such as leaves, flowers, etc. require 60 to 80 degrees centigrade for 20 to 30 minutes extraction time, while bark and heartwood require 95 to 98 degrees centigrade for 60 to 120 minutes. The colorant present in plant are transferred to the aqueous solution. The extracted content is cooled and filtered to separate aqueous solution of coloring components present in vegetable matter and rough edges. The filtrate is then subjected to dryness under vacuum sublimation or in a water bath at 60 degrees centigrade. But in the case of water extracted powder form and paste form, this extraction procedure is not required. In some cases, a fixed quantity of dye is dissolved in fixed volume of water and the aqueous solution is directly used for dyeing. The drawbacks of the process are, as the fabric is boiled till the desired color is obtained, massive amount of heat is consumed. Due to prolonged heating, the dye molecules of heat sensitive dyes are damaged. Fair amount of dye is wasted due to incomplete exhaustion. For better results, sometimes color is extracted from various sources under acidic or alkaline condition. Acidic pH is obtained by adding hydrochloric acid and alkaline pH by adding sodium carbonate in aqueous media. Madder is slightly acidic and hence alkaline extraction gives better results. Flavonoids and anthraquinones are soluble in alkaline solution. Acidic condition was more suitable for red sandalwood and jackfruit wood. Sometimes colorants present in natural sources are insoluble in water, and some dyes are degraded by high temperature boiling. In such cases, the crushed or cut vegetable matters are subject to extraction in Soxhlet apparatus using organic solvents like methanol, ethanol, hexane, alcohol or acetone at their respective boiling temperatures for 20 to 24 hours. After the extraction process, the solvent is evaporated and the colorants obtained as dry powder. Methanol is the most commonly used solvent. Supercritical fluid extraction is an advancement marking a significant step over the use of conventional solvent extraction technology. It uses supercritical carbon dioxide as extraction media. The advantages are it is highly purified and eco-friendly technique. The energy cost is lower in SCFE than the conventional technique. Ultrasonic and microwave assisted extraction process. In this process, the extraction efficiency is increased by the use of ultrasound or microwaves, thus reducing the quantity of required solvent, time and temperature of extraction. In sonicator dyeing, the natural dye containing plant material is treated with water or solvent in the presence of ultrasound. Cavitations or small bubbles are formed in the liquid. These increase in size, but upon reaching a certain size, they cannot retain the shape and it bursts, creating high temperature and pressure, and this improves the extraction efficiency in a very short time. Also, the process can be performed at lower temperature and therefore extraction of heat sensitive dye molecule is better. In microwave extraction, the source is treated with minimum amount of solvent in the presence of microwave energy, which increases the rate of the process and extraction can be completed in a shorter time, and it will also have a better yield. Both these processes are considered green process due to reduction of extraction temperature, solvent and time, which results in lower consumption of energy. The next is the enzyme assisted extraction process. In this process, individual or combination of enzymes such as amylase, pectinase or cellulase is sprayed on source material and it's left for better soaking. These enzymes help to release the surrounding materials like pectin, starch, etc., thereby aiding in extraction of dye under milder condition. The material is taken with water and shaken in orbital shaker for about an hour at optimum temperature. The extracted solution can be used for dyeing directly or it can be filtered, dried, purified and used for further use. This module has highlighted the history, source, classification and extraction of natural dyes. Most of the natural dyes are eco-friendly and they inflict no harm to the consumer or the environment, and it is a sustainable process. In the era of eco-friendly textiles, natural dye products are the products for the future. Let us stick on to nature for a sustainable future.